If your website does not look like Audi's or BMW's or Apple's as a contractor, you're actually losing way more clients than you think you are, because your true competitor is not always the contractor up the road. Hey, this is Logan Schinholzer, and we're gonna take a bit of a different approach today. So I wanna walk you through Audi, the car company. I wanna walk you through their website, and here's why I wanna do this. Their price points for some of their cars are the same price points for remodeling projects. The homeowner has two options. They can either, for $70,000, buy a new Audi, drive it all over town, or they can get their kitchen remodeled. Now, if you're really operating with a $10,000, $15,000 remodel, then it's a little bit of a different situation. But what happens is a lot of contractors, they do work for people. They say things like, I'm high end, I want to work for mid to high end people. And I ask, well, what kind of cars do they drive? Because a car, whatever your clientele drives, can tell a lot about the client. So if they're all driving Maseratis, Ferraris, things like that, not only does it show wealth, it shows that they care about appearance, status, things like that. They want people to know that they've made it. They want people to know that they're rich. If they all drive nice Toyotas, then that shows they want something that's dependable, but they also want something that's affordable. So if you're somebody who does work that is considered on the higher end of things, somebody who's driving a Toyota may not be the best fit. Now, an Audi or a Mercedes or a BMW or an Acura is typically what the clients that I work with, that's typically what their clientele drives, okay? So I want to show you their website, because when a homeowner that drives an Audi, drives a Mercedes, whatever it is, comes to your website, they're used to shopping on Audi's website because they've already bought an Audi. This is what they drive, and the first place that they go to learn more about the types of Audis that are out there right now, the more that they're going to be coming back to this website. So when your website doesn't look and feel as professional as Audi does, what do you think that does to your company? Especially when you're at the same price point. And what's nice about an Audi is you can go to the car dealership, you can pick one up, and it's going to take about 3 hours of your time. With a kitchen remodel, you're going to hire, as a homeowner, hire somebody who's potentially a stranger, spend the same $70,000, and they're going to be in your house for 6 to 8 weeks. And you're going to feel like a stranger in your own home, potentially. So from a pain perspective, it's much easier just to go out and buy a new car. So when you're doing these high-end construction, remodeling, painting, landscaping jobs, you have to understand who you're going after. And when your website and your branding and everything you have online doesn't reflect really what the homeowner's looking for, you're already at a disadvantage. Because a lot of times when a homeowner does not move forward with your project, they don't always go find the cheaper person. Half the time, they just don't do the project at all. Because for that amount of money, they could do a lot of other things. They could go out and buy a car. They could, for 70 grand, they could have 4 really awesome vacations. They could put that $70,000 into the stock market, and if they just, if history does what it always does, they'll double that money in 7 years. So there's a lot of other things that people can do this money for, or use this money for, so you have to almost convince them. And if your website and your branding and everything you have sucks, they're not going to be convinced on the get-go that doing the project is worth it in itself. So let's walk through the Audi website and I'll show you what I mean. It looks nice. It's a very clean website. If you, as a contractor, hired somebody who's really good at SEO to build your website, they most likely put words and blocks of text all over the website, which is fine because it gets you near the top of Google, but they sacrifice all design. There's no sex appeal. You're getting a lot of people to your website, but are they really turning into buyers? So you have to ask yourself that question. Is with Audi, when you search for Audi, they had such a strong brand, they're gonna show up. So they don't need to fill this with text after text after text. They can use a lot of images and things like that. So they're at a huge advantage, but they also have a massive brand. So that's something to really consider. But let's just look at a page. Let's try sedans, okay? Let's just try this. 2020 RS3 sedan starting at $56,000. That's a solid kitchen, right? So first off, all the photos on this site are gonna be professional. I can't tell you how many people we work with that they say, I'm really high end, I want people to pay me for what I'm worth, but then they don't turn around and pay a photographer to actually take photos of their job. You see how weird that is? Is that they're not taking their own medicine, right? So they complain when people are cheap out and go, oh, they're too cheap and this and that. But in fact, your brand and everything about you online shows that you're inexpensive as a contractor. So if you have professional photography, it's gonna show that you're willing to spend money to hire a professional to do this, which means you're probably more expensive. So that's really some things you have to think about. So as we go through this site, it's laid out nice and neat, right? It has cool little design aspects. You click on it. You know, it shows just all the different aspects of the car. It talks about, you know, propelling design forward, you know, does this, and this, explore design. There's not blocks of text about this. It just talks a little bit about this, and that's about it. You can go ahead and check out the car. If you want, you can play with it. Now, your website doesn't need to be this intense. You don't need to have a picture of a kitchen and you can toggle between the different cabinet colors. But if it doesn't look professional, it's going to be very tough to convince somebody that spending money on a remodeling project is worth it over spending money on a car. Because a car, you can drive it to the gym, you can drive it to church, you can drive it to school, wherever you want, and it shows off to everybody your new purchase. Because when you buy something, a lot of it is status. A lot of it is showing, hey, look, like whether you want to admit it or not, I bought this, right? If you didn't care about status, you just buy an old beat up car that looked terrible, but you care what people think about you. So when your site does not sell your service or product, it's very tough to get somebody to actually buy from you. Now, you may be thinking, well, my website, everybody who comes to my website is already sold on getting a kitchen or a bathroom or a paint, you know, repainting, whatever. So all they need to do is know that I'm better than everybody else. And I've had people tell that to me, and I'm like, that's just not true. Because the amount of people that go to your website versus how many actually convert into a lead, there's a lot more just browsing. So they're not sold on the idea at all. So you need to actually sell them on the service or product first. Then you can sell them on your company being better. So what they're doing here with Audi, if you notice, they're just talking about different aspects of the car. A powerful grip on you in the road. The lap and mind of luxury. Propelling design forward, make it your own, right? So what they're not doing is they're not saying, hey, we're the best car company in the world. Hey, we're better than Mercedes, come to us, right? We're better than BMW. Volvo sucks. They're not doing any of that stuff. What they're doing is they're hyping up the car because they want you to buy a car that has these features. Okay? So that's how they sell this thing, is they sell the product or the service, and then, you know, eventually they'll sell themselves. Now they're coming over to locate your nearest dealer, which the dealer will typically then talk about the same aspects, but they'll also try to sell why their dealership is the best. When you're trying to sell to higher end clients, if your website and your stuff is not higher end, you're SOL. Don't try to sell a $100,000 product and go cheap on photos. Don't try to sell a $100,000 product and go cheap on like just doing like, you know, a yard sign. Like there's yard signs all around where I live, and they have high end contractors and they're high end yard signs, right? They're on a nice wood post. The yard sign is out there for a few months. It's not cardboard, which a lot of people do, and it's a big mistake because when you put cardboard out there, you're going to attract the cardboard crowd. So I hope that helps, and this is not too out of the norm, and I hope you're understanding that what websites and what brands that your ideal client is used to is what they're hoping to expect out of you. So if all the people that work for, that hire you are big iPhone users, how do they buy the iPhone? Apple. Let's see if we can't find all the massive blocks of text on Apple's website. Not there. Professional photos, not there. Nice and easy to see. Still no blocks of text. There we go, but this is more of just like this is the terms and conditions. So all in all, you have to understand that what people are doing when they go on your website, they're not just comparing it to the other contractors out there, they're comparing it to every other brand out there, and they're trying to determine, should I spend the money on a new kitchen, repainting the bathroom, a new pond in the backyard, or should I get an awesome new car that I can drive all over? There you go. As always, click the like button if you don't mind. It really helps the YouTube algorithm and lets me know that you enjoy stuff like this. Thanks.